Hey everyone, it's Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show and our special series, What's New, What's Next, and How Can I Help? Where I reach out to some of our former clients, we call them inactive clients, and see where they've grown since being coached by the Massimo Group and what they're up to. But this time, it's really exciting because one of our former clients is actually one of our amazing CRE broker coaches, Mr. Reid Bennett, who's the National Council Chair for SVN and their multifamily division. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to The Massimo Show. The objective of The Massimo Show is to share how you can maximize your personal and professional margin. That's right. Let's make more money in less time. Let's turn chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and income into real wealth. Along with sharing my insight on how I grew a multi-million-dollar professional business, we will bring you expert advice from various authors, consultants, and industry leaders to provide you the tools you need to build that commercial real estate business and life you have always desired. Welcome to The Massimo Show. And Reid, welcome to The Massimo Show.
Hey, Rod. Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
We always love having you. And it's even better because I'm going to be in Chicago next week and I get to see you.
Yes.
Besides where we are. Reid shared me today, it's 11 degrees. 11. It's a hot day in Chicago, huh?
All me.
Okay, Reid. So we worked with you in 2020 and part of 21, almost 16 months we worked with you. Tell us why you came to the Massimo Group in 2021.
Well, I've known you for 16 years. We just talked about you were starting your Massimo Group basically a year after I joined SVN. So I was in the business for 18 years before I hired Massimo Group. And I was at the point where I'd opened up my database. At that time, I probably had 22,373 contacts in my database. And I was like, who do I call? I'm like running out of things to say. The only prospecting I did for the first 18 years of my career was if we had a listing, we would send it out and I would call them and say, hey, did you get my listing? I mean, that was my prospecting. I was sick of having years that were fantastic and then years I was paying my taxes from next year's earnings, my last year's taxes, because it was, so I just didn't like that roller coaster ride. And I had seen a number of my colleagues that had great success with Massimo. And I went down to the Massimo immersion in Orlando. And I remember going to that and just saying, look, I'm not doing any of this stuff. And I don't even know how I've made it 18 years in this business. So then, I had to hire a coach and it was the best decision we made.
So you hired a coach, which we really honor your trust in your business and now our business relationship. So That was 4 years ago. So tell me about the last 4 years since you get coached and we repositioned and redefined and reset everything. So how's it impacted you and your practice?
I want to say we quadrupled our income about a year and a half after. I could track about 75% of the deals that we hit the next 2 years directly to the systems that we put in place that we learned and I coach now in Massimo. There were certain deals that we wouldn't have even come across or been in the room if it wasn't for the presence and the discussions and the cadence that we created from the Massimo practices. So we hit within the year, that next year after we had gone through the principles and, I say we because I have a partner. And so everything that I was doing, I was having him implement together as a partnership. My partner and I in the business had hit the 7-figure together as a team multiple times, but it's just after that year and a half, we had both hit it independently for 2 years and it was above the 7 figures. And I can attribute that definitely to the Massimo principles for sure.
So when the question is, what's new? And for our audience, these 3 questions, what's new, what's next, how can I help, are fantastic frameworks for you to reach out to your inactive clients that you did a lease with or a sale with and stay in front of them and understand how you can help them for the next phase of what they're doing. So that's what's new for you. So you're growing your practice. You're now a consistent 7-figure income producer, which is awesome, which is always our objective. So when you look at where you are today, you've been listening for several decades. So what's next for Reid Bennett?
What's next is we're trying to figure out strategically how to continue to grow the team or the fork in the road where, we've started investing with some of our clients on the LP side. And I'd love to continue to move that over to the GP side for a number of the benefits, wealth creation, tax implications. And so we've been looking at a few things along those lines moving forward. And of course, continue to coach, because I've really enjoyed, I coach multifamily brokers from coast to coast. And it's really, my business has grown because, I went through the course for a year and a half, went through the principles. But when you start bringing others through those principles, you're like, that's what I was supposed to learn when I was cramming the night before and getting this over to my coach. So it hits home, and it's honed my practice a lot more just by doing that, going through it over and over and seeing different avenues, because everybody's different. Everybody has a different tweak to their practice. So it's been fun to do that. And to talk about the what's new, what's next, how can I help? I think I first heard that during COVID when you started the founders calls.
Yeah.
Right? And you had Bob come on and do that whole process with you. And I was like, that is never going to work. So then I'm sitting in my home during the shutdowns and I'm making the calls. And there was a developer outside of Chicago that had a 440 unit deal that he developed amongst other deals. Never talked to him, never even had a conversation with him. He didn't return my calls. I said, look, if I get him on the line, I'm going to try this, even though I didn't have a relationship with him. So I did it. And he was a little annoyed at first, but he started telling me what was new in his life and what was going on. And I did the what's next. And he told me what he wanted to do next. And while he's telling me what he wants to do next, he told me I can't help him. There's nothing I can do for him. He's like interweaving that so that I just let him talk and talk and talk. And then I said, hey, how can I help? And he said, you know what? There is something that you can help me with, because you mentioned that you're doing deals in Iowa. At the end of the call, he gave me a $24.5 million listing on 80 homes in Iowa. It was crazy. And that was just off of doing that the first time I ever tried it.
After you do the stuff we ask.
Right. It was crazy. So that I no longer thought that was like a ridiculous thing to do, because it works.
It's just one of many frameworks that we leverage. Yeah. So I'm thrilled that's the case. And you mentioned, it's been said, which I don't agree with, obviously, that those who don't know teach or coach, right? But obviously you're a seven-figure producer, you're coaching, but you've learned, and other coaches told us this, that the more they coach, the more they realize, oh, I can hone these principles even deeper in my own practice and make more money, which is, I guess, true with you as well.
Yeah, I think you get that. If you don't know teach, that comes from continuing education teachers within brokerage, where it's like the lifers that's all they do. When you're talking about Massimo Group, where all of the coaches have a significant practice and are not doing this to make money, really. We're not doing this as a job. Same thing with like the CCIM instructors. They are not allowed to coach. So it's like there are certain instances where it is that if you can't do, go ahead and teach it. But this is not the case here for sure. Okay, so you mentioned what's next. And for you, it's like two paths here. One is continuing building out the team. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But then you'll talk about the investment side. And I'm an LP in a lot of deals as well, like you. And LPs can be either a great thing, passive in quotes, or it could be a horrible thing. Especially when you, like me, you invest in New York in February of 2020. Oh, wow. So it'd be a terrible thing. But also the GP side, though, is really where the juice flows. We know that. So you know this, but for the audience, my other company that my partner, Brad Arns, a Massimo coach and former Massimo client, just like you. So he runs our CRE investor coach program that some of our actual coaches are going through it right now. But Reid, I would say, check out that program, the CRE investor coach program. We got a lot of brokers that are transitioning into investments and learning the GP side. And Brad Arns is a master at understanding and structuring deals. I learned so much just sitting back and saying, I had no idea we could do this. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, every time I've met him at one of the Massimo events or another event, I've loved hanging out with him and talking to him and picking his brain about how he looks at deals. And I have a number of colleagues at SVN that have gone through that program with him that just say every one of the deals that are brought up, because you guys put together deals with the students, and everybody invests in those deals. And the colleagues I have worked with have said, I would invest in every one of these deals if I had enough of the money. And they are investing in those deals. So it sounds like a fantastic program. I think the last deal I invested in with that group, I think my ROI was 41% in 1 year. And I was happy with that. Wow. So you're guaranteeing that then, right? No. That one was a winner. That's fantastic. Let's talk about the other side, because that's the what's next for you is potentially investing, but you also said something else, continue to grow the teams. What's the vision there when you say continue? Because everyone says, I want to grow a team, but what's for you? Where are you now and how many people are on the team, and where do you see this thing growing in your end? So we have a relatively small team here in Chicago. Our office here has 56 brokers that do all different food groups. My team is the multifamily group within the office here in Chicago. And I have a business partner, Cody Doran. And then we have brought on a junior member, Dan Short, about a year and a half ago. So at one point we did have a number of juniors working in the old traditional, they work on their deals by themselves and you help them. That system just does not work for me.
Right.
Because you end up hand-holding them a majority of the time. They're trying to work on their deals. You help them make a number of different connections and deals. And then they're like, I got this, I'm good. And then, I don't need your help anymore kind of thing. And that's my experience with the whole junior system, how it used to be back in the day. But now we have a much more team-oriented, cohesive, that we're all working on this together. We all get pieces of each deal. And then it's incentivized with who brings in the deal, who works it mostly, and who ends up bringing in the buyer to that deal. So it takes a lot of time to foster a new person. There's a lot to do. And I know with the AVAs, with coaches, it's the same thing with team members. If you bring in the wrong team member, it's really the worst thing that could happen to your business. So it's like we took a long time to bring on a team member. We have a couple other people, one that you might know, we'll talk about it later, that might come onto our team, but it's all about personalities for us. And then it's about trying to figure out, okay, how do you create the areas and the call systems where you're not stepping on each other's toes? And, I haven't quite figured that out yet.
Do you have admin support as well?
Yes, we do. We have a designated admin for sure, yeah.
Is that local or is that
local? Yeah, she is. Myra Mancia is my admin. She's been with me for 20 years. She is sitting actually in my office downtown. I moved her into my office during COVID and I built this one. She's local, and we're looking at VAs as well because I'm seeing a lot of growth with that. And I've used Delaney as well to do a bunch of stuff for us.
One of my VAs, a couple of suggestions there. First of all, Here's a question. Do you consider yourself the CEO of the company?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a job description?
Not a particular job description. Yes.
So I think one thing I would suggest to you and to anyone else listening, and I'll share it to you because my executive coach just asked me, give me your job description. And I was like, oh, you're talking about. He did. He caught me. He did. And so I spent the last half hour writing mine. He said, when you write it, you're going to realize you're doing so much crap you shouldn't be doing as a CEO of a company, right? So 100%. I would say, number one, Reid, get yourself a job description and then share it with your admin, and their admin should share with you, okay, this is everything I can take off your plate now because you can't be doing these things that you're doing. That's number one. The VA's work, we just hired, after listening in Massimo Con, I heard Bo Barron boast so much about this company called Superpowers, right?
Yep.
So I went out and it took them a while. It took them a long while to find someone for me, but they start this week. And I'll tell you, in the first 2 days, I was like, oh, is this what a VA is supposed to be doing? I was like, oh, I had no idea. So it would help me, again, I didn't know what I didn't know, like all of us, really helped me understand what I need to be doing. Look at that as well. But I'm sure people are out there asking, you've had an assistant for 20 years. So help us understand, what is the secret to success of having an assistant for 20 years? Because that's remarkable.
I couldn't tell you what the secret is that. I mean, she's just been fantastic. I actually knew her before I got into the business.
So once in, you already knew her, filtered her, qualified her, knew her, trusted her.
Yeah, she just does really all of I don't even know how to do most of the stuff that she's doing as far as putting the packages together, doing all the research, input to the data into our database, all of that stuff. I mean, she's gotten really good at doing and has actually helped others in her office. So I don't know what the secret is to that.
Well, you already discovered that. Now, when you bring someone new on, like one thing we do, we just hired a new sales manager at Massimo, and a very formal sales manager. And so we're looking at their AVA, their personality assessment, number one, right? And then from that assessment and from the job description, and yes, with the help of AI, absolutely, we're crafting a 90-day onboarding plan. So when he starts March 3rd, we'll know by June 3rd, which is my birthday of all things, that we'll know where he should be. So if you bring on more team members, do they have a expectation of 90 days, what they'll be doing in the first 30, 60, 90 days?
Well, having only brought on one new team member, it took we ramped him up a while, explaining a lot about what he needs to be doing, what we're going to be expecting of him. It is something that we have to put down in writing so we have that. We don't have to go through and recreate the wheel again. For sure. But that's one thing when you're talking about the VA, I've talked to the Superpowers. I've talked to a number of other companies that do this, and they're all fantastic. It's just I need the time to explain to the VA. It's like, how did you overcome that? Figuring out what am I going to, how am I going to explain what I need? I want them to read my mind. They don't do that?
No. This is how we do it at Massimo. Everyone on my team every week has one thing they must do. Every week. My director of sales, my director of marketing, Maggie, my director of client success, and Alyssa, my executive assistant. Every week they are tasked, even Mike, I'm a CEO. They must create what we call a guide, GUIDDE. It's an AI platform where they show on their computer exactly what they're doing. And the AI then creates a video, and it's fantastic, a short video of this is how I do it, right?
Okay.
So in our guides library at Massimo, if anyone gets hit by a truck or wins the lottery or whatever they leaves, right? Even me, we know exactly how we do what we do. And it doesn't take that long. It's called GUIDDE. You get an account and read. So as you're doing something on a computer, you say, let's create a guide. You create a portfolio of processes on your end. Yeah. So your EA comes in and says, or whoever comes in and says, look, this is how things are done at this company. And that's it. And you don't need to tell them because it's all in the library. And it sounds like it takes a lot of work. It's not a lot of work. It's not.
Okay. That's better than Loom, right?
Well, it's better than Loom. Yeah.
Okay.
Plus also Loom, unless you get certain accounts, they will expire. People don't realize that. But guide, we have a guide library of everything we do and how we do it. And I will say it's also, Reid, it makes your company much more valuable. It does. So
I'll check it out.
So that's another one right there as well. So Reid, look, I know you're a busy guy. You are the National Council Chair for Multifamily. So Reid, I know it's next for you. How about we do this? How about in the fall, we work with you and some of our other Massimo coaches who do multifamily, and we do some type of a workshop for multifamily brokers. Would that be cool?
I think that'd be great.
I think that'd be great. Let's do that. Let's help those. Reid, any final words to those listening, all brokers? You're a seven-figure producer. You're a national chair. You've used for decades. You're a success. You're one of a very few percentage of brokers that hit that producer authority level of success in brokerage. Any secret sauce before we take off?
I mean, the secret sauce is you have to put into perspective the percentages in this business. And I was explaining this yesterday to a younger broker in our office that we're looking for 2 or 3% of yeses, right? And 2 or 3% of yeses can make you millions.
Yes.
But the vast majority of people cannot deal with the 97% rejection. So if you get that and understand that and kind of go for the nose and make a game out of that, that will help you with just the psychology of this business moving forward. And then just to remain persistent, because one day it can seem like you're never going to succeed in this business. And then the next day a call comes in or you make a call that just opens up the whole world, because you only need a few clients that'll make your whole career. You have to think about those percentages.
That's a great insight and great suggestions, right? When that works, whether you're new to business or you're still a seasoned veteran. So Thank you so much, Reid Bennett, with the Massimo Show on what's new, what's next, and how can I help? And everyone else was out there. Reid just dropped a whole bunch of knowledge on you. Here's the thing, as Reid and I both know, knowing isn't doing. You got to go out and implement, and through implementation comes the transformation. Okay, Reid, you're the best. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Rod.
Hey, that's it. That's a wrap for this episode of the Massimo Show. Once again, hopefully you learned a lot of value provided by our guests, or maybe by me. But the key is this. As we say in Massimo, knowing isn't doing. So don't kid yourself. You got to go out and do the work. You have to implement what you learned if you want to get the results. And please, if you like this episode, please share it. Share it with your colleagues, share it with your friends. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And we look forward to seeing you next time on The Massimo Show.